Hi, I'm Beth at West Coast Wool, and today I'm going to talk to you about the top 5 easy stitches to get you started in wool applique. Okay, we're going to do the whip stitch first. We whip stitch our applique in place before we do our embroidery stitches. I have a little sample here. We're going to be using Ellana wool thread. This is a 50-50 blend of wool and acrylic. You need the acrylic for the strength. This color is 50, it's parchment, it's a white. We're also going to be using a 24 chenille needle. That's the needle size that we use when we whip stitch our appliques. I'm also using these pre-cut circles that WonderFil has. They come in a package of 24. This size is 1.5, and then the sizes go down from there. So that's what we're going to use for this little sampler here. To start the whip stitch, I'm going to come up from the back of my work into the applique about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And I'm going to do the stab method first. So I'm going to come up to the top. I am going to take my needle and go directly into the background, close to the edge of the circle, straight across. And I'll do it again for you. So I'm going to come up, and I'm going to go straight back down into the background. And it's super easy. You just go up and you're going to go straight back down. So that's the stab method. Some of you like to do the sewing method, which is really just one stitch. And to do the sewing method, you're just going to come up to the top of your work in the applique. You're going to go straight across, go back down, and then you're going to take a little bite to make the stitch. Straight across. So I'm up, and it's just like one stitch you're making. It's super fast when you do it this way, and you can really stitch these down quickly. So that's the first thing that we're going to do when we're going to wool applique. The next stitch I'm going to show you is the chain stitch. It's an easy stitch, and it makes great outlines for circles and other applique elements. I'm going to be using Eleganza pearl cotton. This is Easy M20, and I'm going to be using a chenille 18 needle. Now this Eleganza is a size 5. We're going to bump up the size a little bit, so we want to use a size 18 chenille needle with this, and we're going to stitch around this circle. Now, just so you know, I'm left-handed, so I'm going to be stitching clockwise. But if you're right-handed, you may want to stitch counterclockwise. The stitch is made the same. It doesn't matter if you're left or right-handed. Just go the direction that feels good to you. So we're going to bring our needle to the front of our work in the background, close to the circle. And we're going to take a little stitch right next to that emerging thread, just like that. And we're going to take our working thread and we're going to wrap it behind our needle, and then we're going to pull it through, just like that. And the next step, you're going to go in that hole in the loop there, because you want to make sure you go inside the loop so you can chain the stitches together, and you're going to make the next stitch, just like that. And do the same thing. And you'll do this all the way around, and you'll join the last loop that you make with the first one. But as you can see, as I'm stitching, the little circle gets this pretty little edging to it. Makes your applique come alive. Just like that. So I've come all the way around with my chain stitches, and I'm going to finish with the last little chain stitch here to close the circle. And I'm just going to go into that last chain stitch. I'm going to go into the first hole really close, just like that. Make sure your working thread is behind your needle. And then I'm gonna take my thread to the back of my work in the first hole, just like that, to kind of close it off. And that's what a simple chain stitch can do. It really livens up your applique, and it's an easy stitch. Let's work on some French knots. For this stitch, you're gonna need a milliner's needle. I'm using a size 3 with an Eleganza pearl cotton. This is a size 8 pearl cotton. It's EZM 1004. Now we're using the milliner's because we're gonna do some wrap stitches. So I've got my needle threaded here, and we're gonna do some wraps, and we're gonna stitch on this little circle. So to start a French knot, you're just gonna bring your needle to the front of your work, and this stitch is worked the same way even if you're left or right-handed. You're going to do some wraps. Now, the size of the French knot can change with the number of wraps that you stitch. So average, you would do 2 wraps, but if you wanted your French knots to be bigger, you could wrap 3 times or 4 times if you wanted. If you wanted your French knots to be really tiny, you would just wrap 1 time. So we've come up to the top of our work. We're gonna wrap the thread around our needle. You don't have to do it really tight. You're just gonna wrap it around. You're gonna take your needle to the back of your work right next to the hole that you came out of, but not in the same hole. Otherwise the stitch would fall through the back. And I've made sure that my thread is at the base of my needle, and I'm just gonna pull it through, and you can see that I'm holding it with my right thumb in place, and I'm gonna pull my thread through. So this is 2 wraps. So let's do it again. We're gonna come up to the top of our work, just like that. We're gonna wrap 2 times. We're gonna go back down right next to the emerging thread, and we're gonna bring the thread through to the back. So let's do it again. We're gonna come up. We're gonna wrap it twice. We're gonna go back down. So what if you wanted to make these bigger? I've done 2 wraps here. Let's see what it looks like if I do 3 wraps. So let's do the same thing. We're gonna come up to the top. We're gonna wrap 3 times. We're gonna go to the back. It's really close, the sizes, but let's do it again. We're gonna wrap 3 times. So this is wrapping 3 times. These are slightly smaller than the 3 wraps, but let me show you what it looks like if we just do 1 wrap. So let's bring our needle to the front, and we're gonna wrap it 1 time. Let's see what it looks like. It's pretty small. We'll do it again. Just like that. So the 1 wraps are pretty small. The 3 wraps are a little bit bigger, and then, like I said, the 2 wrap is probably what you're going to use the most. That's all there is to the French knot. The next stitch that I'm going to show you is a simple fly stitch. We're going to stitch around this white circle here. We're going to make little fly stitches, make this circle really pop. I'm going to be using Eleganza pearl cotton, EZM 29, and this is a number 5, and I'm going to be using a chenille 18 needle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up. I'm going to be working in the background close to the circle, I'm going to come up to the top and I'm going to make a little stitch kind of diagonal, just like that. And I'm going to have my working thread behind my needle, just like that, because you want to catch it. And then you want to take your needle to the back of your work really close to the edge to kind of close the fly stitch, just like that. So I'm going to come up to the top and I'm going to take a little stitch just like this. Now I'm going to go into the hole that's on the left-hand side of the previous one, just like that. And make sure that my working thread is behind my needle. Okay, just like that. And then you're going to take your thread to the back. So we're doing a fly stitch we're stitching around something. You can do fly stitches vertically, but we're kind of doing them horizontally. So I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to do another stitch. I'm going to try to keep them as even as possible. And stitch around until we've come all the way around, and we'll finish this stitch. I've come all the way around, and now I just want to finish this circle off, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to come up right here and make the last little fly stitch to join them together. Just like that. And it makes a nice little decorative edge around this circle. The next stitch we're going to talk about is the bullion knot. To do this stitch, I'm going to be using an Eleganza pearl cotton number 8. I'm going to use a milliner's needle number 3, and we're going to stitch around this circle. If you are left-handed, you may want to stitch clockwise. If you're right-handed, you may want to stitch counterclockwise. Do whatever feels good to you. And we're going to start by coming up to the top of your work, and I'm in the background close to the circle because we're gonna just accentuate this circle with a line of bullion knots. So we're gonna come up to the top and we're gonna take a small bite, just like that. We're gonna come out close to the emerging thread, just right next to it, and then we're gonna do a series of wraps. The number of wraps that you take need to fill this area right here, the size of the bite. So I call it my sweet spot. I know how many wraps it's gonna take, and it's probably gonna take about 8 to 10, but I'll maybe do about 10. So I'm gonna wrap my thread around the needle 10 times. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just like that. You wanna use your finger and push down all the wraps to the base of the fabric. So you want it all the way down to the end, and you're gonna hold on to those wraps with your other thumb. So I'm gonna, with my right thumb, I'm gonna hold on to it, and then I'm gonna push my needle through. And if you notice, I'm never letting go of the thread. I'm not even picking it up at all until you can't pull it all the way through. And the reason why is you wanna keep those as close as possible. So when I do let it go, it kind of looks like this. This little stitch gets folded over on top of itself. So as I tighten it up, I just pull it towards me, and I use my thumbnail just to tighten up the stitch. And it makes a nice, pretty bullion knot. But you're not finished until you take your needle to the back of your work, and that finishes off the bullion knot. So let's do the next one. So if I want to stitch a bullion knot right here, I always come up just a little bit away from the last one. You don't want to come up here, you want to come up just away from it because it gets folded over on itself. So I'm going to come to the top. I'm going to take a little bite right next to the last one, coming out right next to the emerging thread, and I'm going to do my wraps again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You want to look at it to make sure those wraps will cover this area. If you're unsure, the little trick I have for you is to wrap 2 more times. So if you're not sure of your bite, if you wrap a couple more times, it's better to wrap a little bit more than not enough. So you're going to hold on to the stitch with your thumb. So if you were right-handed, you would be doing it just like this and then pulling it through. So I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to pull my needle through until I can't pull it any farther. And when you let go of it, it looks just like this, and you fold it over on top of itself. And then you take your needle to the back of your work, and that anchors this stitch down. That's how you make the bullion knot. I've already stitched all the way around the circle with the bullion knots. It makes a really pretty edge, a nice decorative edge. I've gotten all of the circles embellished. Now let's talk about a bonus stitch, and let me show you how to do the rosette chain. For the rosette chain, we're going to use the same color as this thread, and that's the EZM 1004. And I'm going to use a chenille 24 needle. And this stitch, we're going to come up in the background close to the circle. So we're going to come to the top. We're going to take a little bite that's to the right, just like that. We're going to wrap our thread front to back. It's really important that you wrap front to back instead of back to front, or the stitch won't work. So here I've got my little bite. I'm going to wrap it front to back, and I'm going to hold it with my thumb, hold the stitch, and I'm going to bring my thread through. And this makes a little like figure 8. You can kind of see that there. So take the back of your needle, and this little leg here, the left-hand side leg, you're going to use the back of your needle, and you're going to push the thread through. And we just call this a little rosette there. So to make the next stitch, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go just a little ways to the right. You're going to take a bite, and you want the bite to be the same height as the last one. That's your goal. You're going to wrap front to back, hold it with your thumb, and bring it on through. You're going to take the back of your needle, and see now there's a little bar here that you can easily see. You're going to go underneath the bar, and you're going to bring it closed. So tension is really important here. You don't want to pull too tight or you'll distort the stitches. So you want to keep it just the right amount of tension. So let me show you how to do it again. So we're going to take a little bite. You're going to wrap it front to back, and you're going to pull it through. Take the back of your needle, go under that bar, and just close the gap there. And then you can take the back of your needle and just push those stitches close to the circle. So this works even if you're left or right-handed. You're going to do the exact same thing. I'll do it one more time for you. So you're going to take a little bite, wrap front to back, hold on to it with your thumb, pull it through, go under the bar, and that makes the stitch. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial of my top 5 stitches for beginners. Please find me on Facebook, Instagram, and watch my YouTube channel. Happy stitching!
Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more great tips, tricks, and tutorials. You can also sign up for our weekly newsletter to get the first look at free projects, sewing tips, and inspiring tutorials delivered right to your inbox. Check out the description box below to sign up, as well as find a list of stores and retailers that you can purchase WonderFil threads from in your country.